So a lot of people really want Changli.
Changli could be the worst character in this game and I'd still pull her.
I have one more, please. Ouchie!
People are breaking out their wallets just to get her, and can you even blame them? I happen to have won the 50-50 because let's be honest, it's just that easy. And I am so excited to tell you guys that she is one of the most enjoyable characters in the game right now. From her gameplay, to her presentation, to her story, I'm gonna break it down for all of you guys so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to get her on her banner. So sit back, stay hydrated, and most importantly, I hope you all enjoy. No matter what any of the theory crafters in this game have said about Changli, one thing that they will never be able to deny is that she is amazing to play. Her entire kit is built from the ground up to be a dynamic playstyle that rewards you for quick decision making and mechanical skill. While we sadly do not have an EO in this community, this segment is going to show you guys just how much fun she is to play. Changli's entire game plan revolves around filling up her forte bar so she can launch an enhanced version of her heavy attack, which deals a lot of AoE damage. She can fill this up through two main methods. One method involves her performing her basic attack combo. Once she gets to the end, she receives a buff that enhances her next basic attack, which gives her a stack of her forte gauge. The other method is to use her skill, which immediately gives her the same buff she gains with her basic attacks and is a much faster way to gain stacks on her forte bar, especially because she has two chargers on the skill, which allows you to gain your stacks back to back. When you use her ultimate, not only does she do a massive AoE attack, but she also immediately gets her forte bar filled up, which allows you to do another enhanced charge attack. So, you basically want to fill up her bar, expend it, and if you have her ultimate charged, perform that and then do another enhanced attack to blow everything up on screen. Rinse and repeat. While that sounds fairly basic all things considered, and it is, what adds to her complexity is that she can do all of this in the air as well. See, the buff doesn't just enhance her basic attacks, it also turns her jump into its own attack, which also gives you stacks on her forte bar. The air versions of her attacks are generally weaker but faster versions of the grounded attacks. So at any given time, you're constantly asking yourself if you want to use her air attacks to get as much stacks as fast as possible, or to use the grounded attacks to squeeze out as much damage as you can. The answer is always based on the context because it's pretty difficult to perform a clean rotation in the game when you're doing the endgame content. It's a really fantastic design decision that tells you a lot about her character just from the gameplay alone. She's a person who values performing the right moves at the right time, all the while giving herself as many advantages as possible before suddenly defeating her opponents in a blink of an eye. I am a huge sucker for mechanics that themselves support the story that the game designers are trying to tell. Another fun aspect to her gameplay is that many of her attacks have long animations that leave her vulnerable to counterattack. And you all know me, I am a sucker for characters that let me take advantage of the quick swap mechanic. I personally could not care less about the buffs I could be receiving from her outro skill. While it is probably more optimal to do that, it's just not as cool. Any kind of gameplay that leaves my fingers miming the different combos and routes that I could do to deal more damage is always going to win out over any passive effects that just flatly give me bigger numbers. It just feels so much more tactile, if that makes sense. And her mobility, man. I know people joked about Jinchi power creeping movement because she can just straight up walk in the air, but Changli's mobility just feels so much better. It's largely due to the fact that her movement comes out in quick bursts rather than prolonged movement, which does go further, but seeing Changli zipping around the battlefield as she's gaining stacks for her forte ability and just straight up doing air combos is just an experience that you'd be missing out if you didn't get her. Simply speaking, she is just built different. She's amazing against large groups, she's amazing against bosses, she's amazing for traversal. You really can't go wrong when you're playing as her, and I'm finding myself playing as her more and more as the days have gone by. A fun detail that they added to her gameplay is that she has different appearances for each stack she has of her forte ability. Each stack burns away a part of her clothing, eventually ending up with a blindfold over her eyes. Using your enhanced charge attack as well as her ultimate will revert her back to her normal state, which again sells the whole Phoenix aesthetic with her burning parts of herself away and returning to zero. And speaking of her aesthetics, I'd like to get into it because it's really interesting how Hey! Hey! This isn't an ASMR channel, buddy. You're not falling asleep on me. Yeah, that tickled your brain, didn't it? Now where was I? Right. Okay, I'm gonna take a break from my usual patterns in my previous videos because I just want to glaze how well the devs designed Changli's aesthetics. I love the color choices. White and pink always make for a great combination. It was good on Encore, it's fantastic on Changli. The tattoos on her shoulders and the fire design on her arm is extremely cool. They give her even more of an identity that sets her further apart from the other characters. When you see the hand, you cannot mistake it for anyone except for Changli. And that's the kind of identity in character design that is something that I will never get tired of praising. Now, as for her outfit, I'm normally the kind of guy who prefers his characters to wear practical clothing. I already told you guys how much I love knights in the boss video, and a very large reason for that is because I find plate mail really cool. The way that the design has been perfected over the centuries to make them as protective as possible while becoming more and more articulated has always been such a cool thing to me. Despite that, I just can't help but love the clothing design on Changli. The flowing white dress accentuates her animation spectacularly, giving them a very fluid feeling that I don't think could have happened if they didn't dress her in the way that they did. The sleeve things may not look like they make a lot of sense at all. They look like they should be a part of a jacket, but they're only attached around her arms and waist. But honestly, the black and deep red go a really long way to break up all the white so that it isn't monochromatic as hell. I do have one complaint though. What the hell are these rings in her hair? My partner pointed them out to me and now I can't stop staring at them. This girl seriously chopped a part of her hair off just so she can tie it back on like they're hair extensions? I'm genuinely confused by them every time I look at it, and I mean, you know, slay queen, do your thing. But I don't really understand the purpose of this design as it relates to her character. But speaking of her character, I do think it's time to get into Changli's story. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the devs have continued to improve on their storytelling with each piece of content that they've released. I do want you guys to experience this yourselves. So you can either boot up the game right now, or jump to this timestamp so you don't get spoiled. For those that are still here, let's begin. Our story begins with Rover listening in on an old man recounting the story that we've heard from Jinchi's quest. It's about that woodcutter who goes up to the mountains and is suddenly shunted several years into the future. Changli will then pop up and give us a letter before promptly disappearing. Reading it reveals that it is a riddle which Abby says is Changli's way of asking Rover out on a date. And with my monkey brain sufficiently tickled, I start looking around for clues. After getting info from the nearby residents, we eventually figure out that the letter is inviting us to meet with Changli at the location specified. But instead of finding her there, we instead come across a Wei Chi board. Wei Chi, or Go as a lot of people are more familiar with, is a Chinese board game that's stated to be the oldest board game that's still being played today. It involves 2 players, and the objective of the game is to capture as much territory as possible by blocking off areas with your pieces and by taking your opponent's pieces through the same method. You aren't really able to move your piece when you place it down, so planning for the future is absolutely paramount if you're looking to succeed. The game goes on until both parties agree to end the game and the points are tallied to see who won. This isn't just a random side tangent, by the way. Wei Chi is a piece of the story that is extremely relevant. Changli finally shows up and she explains to you that she's looking for a certain Wei Chi player that her former master knew, as they may be the key to solving the temporal distortions that are still affecting Han Zhen, despite your efforts with Jin Shi. In your investigation, you come across a cave where a man is being attacked by tacit discords. You save his life and he starts murmuring about finally finding the key to immortality, though his wounds are too much for him to bear and he passes out. The two of you bring him back to town and you find his girlfriend who is suffering from unnamed anime illness, complete with coughing to indicate that it's terminal. The woman thanks you both for your efforts, but she is puzzled when her boyfriend mentions that he's only been out for half a day when he's been missing for nearly a week. This clues both you and Changli in that his hunt for immortality is tied to the temporal distortions. You both return to the cave and find his notes, which details that he's trying to find the fabled place that will allow people to live forever to save his girlfriend. Changli insists for the both of you to focus on the task at hand, and the two of you follow the temporal distortions. You then stumble onto mirages of Changli's former mentor speaking of what is obviously a mirage of Rover. This is where you discover that the man Changli is looking for is Rover himself, and when you touch the Wei Chi board, it begins to glow as a sonorosphere appears. But before either of you are able to enter, the Fraxidus appear and you fight some of them off, but not without the main group being able to sneak inside, so the two of you hurry inside behind them. As you two make it to the other side, you lose sight of Changli, though it doesn't take for you to find her again as you find a little girl burning a bunch of tacit discords in nothing. If it's not obvious by her looks, the young girl is a child version of Changli. She tells us to stay away or risk burning by her forte ability, but we assure her that we're a friend and that we'll be safe around her powers. Rover tells her that he's lost and she decides to help us get somewhere safe. After a few puzzle solving and monster slaying, we see more of Changli's past, where we find out that her powers are barely something that she can control, and that every time she uses it, she ends up hurting herself and others around her. We then come across adult Changli, who sees us as mirages in the same way that we see her as a mirage. At this point, we continue forward as Changli herself and learn more about her relationship with her mentor. He explains that her forte ability is basically like a candle being lit on both ends. Whenever she uses her powers, it inevitably cuts her lifespan significantly, but her determination to make the world a better place convinces him to at least try and help her control powers so that she can use them while minimizing the risks she places on herself. It eventually ends with her mentor giving her her name in the exact same way Jin Shi's name was given to her before he goes off to look for Rover. The past and the present then find themselves coming together, and I need y'all to see this cutscene cause it is just beautiful.
Now that you have found the answers you seek, it is time to begin your journey. From this moment on, the choices you make and the plans you lay out, they will all lead to that future.
Changli.
Sorry I kept you waiting.
We then find that the Fraxidus are being attacked by tacit discords and Changli goes up to get rid of the problem. Rover tries to intervene, but she assures him that she has all this covered. With a single blow, she burns everything away, including the sonorosphere itself, while leaving Rover and herself entirely unharmed. The joy in her face is palpable as she reaches out to hold Rover's hand, ecstatic to see that not a single hair on his head has been harmed, and it is heartwarming as all hell. The two of you leave the sonorosphere and see the couple waiting outside. It's here where the man finally comes to terms that trying to find a cure for his partner's condition is a goal that he has to let go, as all that she wants is to be able to spend her remaining days with him living her life as she wants, and man, this shit nearly made me cry. It's here that Changli pipes up to say that she might have some connections with doctors that could help the girlfriend with her condition, leaving the two on a happier and more hopeful note. She tells you to come back in a couple days while she cleans up the mess left behind by the sonorosphere. You return to the original meeting spot and she answers a few questions about herself, eventually telling you her life story.
The young orphan girl carried on. Everywhere she looked, tragedies rampant. As lament engulfed the globe, A world torn by monsters, filled with homeless souls. With her own blood as fire, she drove away the cold. And her master said, "In this tumultuous world, lives are fragile as mayflies." She couldn't exhaust herself to save those before her. But she must endure to ignite a brighter tomorrow. She wielded her wits to evade harm, treading on knives with care. Alone, yet maturing through stumbles. Later on, she became someone else's teacher. She taught the future leader this: to guide conscience and secure prosperity for the people, to continue lost teachings of past sages and establish peace for all. I will be the torchbearer, for one person can't rid the world of chaos alone. One day, a future of prosperity and lasting peace will arrive.
Wow. Just wow. I know I'm probably overselling this, but I was glued to my screen from start to end. Changli's entire story revolving around the lengths people go for their loved ones without really realizing how much their single-mindedness is hurting them is, well, it really hits close to home. I know a lot of people in my life who mean well and who do want the best for me, but they never really quite realized that what I really want is for them to just be there at my side so that I can enjoy the moment with them. Seeing Changli and the couple growing into people who can see those mistakes is just... it's beautiful. I genuinely think that Kuro's writing is some real shit. I'm probably biased because of my own experiences, but the constant improvement with each story that's come out just further amplifies how much I love the game. Changli is an amazing character, and her story is an absolute banger for me. So those are my overall thoughts on Changli. She's a character that was well worth the hype surrounding her. Her gameplay is unmatched, her aesthetics are on point, and her story is peak. Do your best to get her. You don't have to pull your wallets out, but she is genuinely my favorite character in the game right now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Do you guys agree? Which character in the game is your favorite right now? Hell, I'd love to just hear your guys' favorite gacha game character in general. I love how active you guys are in the comments. I do try to respond to most of you guys to the best of my ability. To anyone that I miss, I do deeply apologize. I also want to express my gratitude to you guys. I was preparing for a celebration for 100 subs before I left on my trip, but now there's 350 of you subscribed as of the time of recording, and the last video just hit 12,000. I am in genuine awe of your guys' support, and it makes me all the more excited to make more videos to you guys. If you'd like to support the channel even more, I have a Kofi link down below. I'm still figuring out rewards for anyone who does. I'm thinking of showing teasers or work-in-progress videos on there, but that's for the future. In the meantime, you guys stay safe, stay hydrated, and most importantly, I hope you all take care of yourselves.